how is homosexuality rationally justified? I mean, what's the argument that says homosexuality is a moral behavior?
Well, what's the argument that says it isn't? The burden of proof is... We begin. The smart thing to do with it is to grant every liberty and freedom, and then begin limiting freedoms and liberties for good reasons. So, what's the problem with two people of the same gender having a romantic and or sexual relationship?
Right. Oh, well, okay. So first off, I would say there are a couple different problems with that. First off, often in those kind of relationships, there's a high spread of AIDS going on. So it's actually detrimental to that society along. That's true. That's a fact. Another problem.
So I'm going to pause you. I'm going to pause you. Like, you could be in a homosexual relationship and never actually engage in any sort of behavior that even slightly increases your risk of getting AIDS.
Right, but also it's not a homosexual illness, right?
Correct.
There are huge swaths of the globe where heterosexual women are the primary patients in HIV.
But functionally, the question was, why is it wrong? The fact that you can...
Right, but all sex would be wrong if
so
if we were saying STIs.
There's a risk of STIs, and there's some that aren't going to happen in lesbian relationships very likely. There's some that aren't going to happen in male-male relationships. But none of that gets to why it's wrong. The fact that something it may increase a risk for something. I mean, you might as well be using that to say that skydiving is wrong.
Or driving.
Because, there's a chance that parachute doesn't open. Or driving. Driving is wrong.
Right. This is why I was going to give a bunch of different reasons. Definitely.
Okay, then start with one that's not crap.
Obviously. Well, no, that's not a crap reason.
It is crap. It is absolutely crap.
If you understand what Matt just said, then you understand why that's crap.
It is functionally crap because it has nothing to do with the moral component. So now come up with a reason that it's wrong that isn't crap.
Right. Yeah. So, and a couple other reasons are more on the theological side, which
I don't give a shit about the theological side.
Yeah, really.
Which I understand that, but
then why?
Because those are crap too.
If the religious reason is a good reason, then you don't need to use religion because you'll be able to demonstrate it's a good reason even without the religion, right? So if the religion has a good reason for putting it forward, then you should be able to just point to the good reason, and you don't really need to go to religion for it.
Well, I think so first off, there's a few problems with that. First off, it assumes that humans are capable of reason apart from the Christian God, that people aren't suppressed.
It doesn't assume humans are capable of reason. No, humans are, in fact, capable of reason, most of us. We are able to define and describe reasoning. We are able to describe how and why we know when we come across fallacious reasoning. We are able to describe how we know when our emotions and biases are affecting things. For you to suggest that we are just presupposing that humans can reason is flatly fucking absurd. So don't just assert it again. If I offer a rebuttal, don't just restate the same thing. You need to then rehabilitate your argument or drop it.
Yeah. So there was the fall of man, I believe, that happened thousands of years ago.
I don't believe that the fall of man is a real thing or that it happened 1,000 years ago.
Just because you don't believe that, I mean, that doesn't mean that it's not true.
Correct. And just because you do believe it, does not mean, oh my God, interrupt me one more fucking time, I dare you.
Okay, he's on hold.
Just because you do believe it doesn't mean it's true. So if you're just calling into the show to assert things that you believe and offer no argument for it, I'm not interested. Okay. Make a case.
Yeah, and I have to say that if this is just going to be preaching, just tell us now and we'll move on to the next call.
Yeah.
Okay, you're off hold.
So you don't like homosexuals and you don't like sound arguments. Go ahead. What's next?
Okay, well, first off, I never said I didn't like homosexuals, so that's a straw man. What I'm simply coming on to do is to show that I don't believe that homosexuality it has a rational justification. I think if we were to justify homosexuality...
I addressed that.
Pedophilia.
Like that. What the fuck did you just say?
That claims that it...
What the fuck?
He's on hold.
Okay, now you're on hold, so even if you're still talking, other people will hear this. You made a case that the same arguments could be used to justify pedophilia as there are for homosexuality. And I corrected you that pedophilia is not the issue that you're talking about, and that the arguments that you're talking about don't apply to both of them. So either acknowledge that or rehabilitate your argument.
Yeah, basically what Matt objected to was he was saying that you're talking about informed consent between adults versus non-informed consent from two adults when you're dealing with children. And so it's not the same justifications. And I would say that you don't have to justify homosexuality. I don't even know what it means
you don't have to justify
it.
your attraction to anyone or anything. That's not a thing that is justified.
Right. So the pedophile's desires are completely fine as long as they don't act on it.
Correct.
Is that your argument?
Correct. That's not an argument; it's a fact.
So then, what would be wrong with someone acting on a desire that's completely neutral? Why would it suddenly become wrong?
Nothing.
If it was neutral,
acting on a desire that's completely neutral, there's nothing wrong with it.
He's saying that this is a pedophilia. He's interpreting pedophilia as a neutral desire because you're saying there's nothing wrong with the desire. So what's wrong with acting on it?
Because desire and action are different.
Right.
I might desire to punch you in the face, but acting on it would be the actual problem.
Right. You can desire all kinds of things, but if you're not doing them, then you're not creating issues for other people.
And I'm a nonviolent person, so I wouldn't do that anyway.
I think it's a meaningless distinction.
Then you're an idiot.
It's not a meaningless distinction.
What you're simply
wanting to rob a bank and robbing a bank are two different things.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't arrest people and put them in prison for wanting to do a thing.
Are you now saying that it's okay to desire to want to rob a bank? That's
yes, sir.
It's okay to want to do anything.
Yes, sir.
It's not okay to do anything.
What about a mass murder? Is that an okay desire to have?
It's okay to have that desire.
Right, as long as you're not acting on it.
As a matter of fact, the person who has that desire and never acts on it is engaging in a morally superior position because they recognize that the action is distinct and different and has consequences.
Yeah, they have a moral filter.
Superiority on naturalism.
People don't choose their thoughts. You don't have any control over whether or not you believe something or are attracted to someone or anybody else. You can, in fact, influence it, and other people can influence it as well. But what you're trying to do is make, along the lines of theology, make thoughts a crime, make thoughts a sin, make thoughts immoral. And what I'm saying is that it is the actions and the consequences of those actions that determine morality. Religious moral systems have pronouncements about what is, and that's why you're convinced that somebody who has an evil thought is somehow a bad person, even if they don't act on it, and you are wrong.
Like, for example, homosexuality, engaging in the practice of spreading AIDS, which you said was
Hang up
totally
on this piece of shit, please.
I have no objection to that.
Thank you.
For those who are saying Matt is running the show from the co-host chair, I'm happy to make that hang up.
It's also why I said
this
please.
This did not violate my consent in any way.